I love Destiny 2. A lot. Okay? Probably too much. I've been with the game since 2014, and I've grown up and evolved with it. Question is why? Why would I play the same game consistently for 10 years? Well, it's pretty simple. It's just so much damn fun. Ralph Koster, in his book, A Theory of Fun for Video Game Design, argues that understanding what makes video games fun is central to good game design. What might look like a simple shooter game to those on the outside, to me and many other players, is the best feeling shooter with an incredibly unique and satisfying design. This brings me to my main point that Destiny 2 perfects power fantasy with unique weapon and ability design, satisfying visual and audio design, and its enemies. Before I start with many of my real points, I quickly want to go over Destiny's history as a franchise and as a world. Destiny is created by Bungie and released to the public on September 9th, 2014. The game gets 4 DLC, 2 major and 2 minor, and later Bungie decides to make Destiny 2 to move to exclusively next-gen consoles and finally to PC. Destiny 2 releases September 6, 2017, and 8 DLCs later, we're here and today. I bring this up to show that this game has lived for 10 years now, and while it's had its ups and downs, there is always a consistent player base that will come back and play the game every year, which just goes to show how fun the game is. Biggest example of this in the history was when Bungie released Lightfall, the penultimate DLC in the grand story. The story flopped, but was still celebrated because of the unique design and gameplay brought with Strand, the new subclass, with IGN saying, "Thankfully, Strand does help ease the monotony of the campaign's action, representing the biggest shakeup into Destiny's sandbox in a long while." Destiny's story is really confusing, but I'll try to simplify it. There's 2 primal powers at the start of existence, light and dark. The light ends up as the Traveler, a god in the shape of a moon, who travels across the universe giving its power to planets and allowing their civilizations to advance rapidly. But every time the Traveler stops, the darkness follows it and causes some apocalyptic event, and the Traveler abandons the people it was protecting. If the Traveler shows up to Earth, it does its thing and brings the darkness with it, which leads to the collapse. However, this time, the Traveler stays and releases the Ghosts, which are sentient extensions of the Traveler's power, who revive the dead into the Guardians, our player characters. Jump 1,000 or so years into the future, and your character is revived, and you go and make your own destiny. I wanted to put both the game history and world into perspective because it's important to see the many changes to the game to improve the player experience and why you can blow shit up. So, what do I mean by power fantasy? Well, your character is ludicrously strong in terms of game balance perspective and a world perspective. You're constantly fighting godly beings as old as the universe, and all you have is a gun and your few abilities. But Guardians have something called paracausal power, which essentially means it ignores the laws of causality, which is the principle that all effects must have a preceding cause and all causes a subsequent effect. All that is to basically say the Guardians are really strong. The player Guardian is picked from one of 3 classes: Titans, Hunters, and Warlocks. Each class has 5 unique subclasses of different elements, being Solar, Arc, Void, Stasis, and Strand. Each subclass has different aspects and fragments, with different keywords to change how you play. There are also dozens of different weapon types, and under the 5 element umbrella, plus kinetic, you also have exotics, which are incredibly unique and powerful. Destiny 2, at its heart, is a game about build crafting and synergy. While some people might not play into ultra min-maxing of build crafting, every player still uses it, whether intended or not. For example, the background gameplay you've been watching is on my Hunter, using Strand and the Radiant Dance Machine exotic boots, along with the new exotic weapon, Barrow Dyad, to constantly suspend enemies and refill my class ability to suspend more. This is one of 1,000 possible builds to use on Hunter alone, which just goes to show how unique the gameplay can be. Exotics tend to be where the designers have the most fun with unique designs. Previously led by Chris Proctor, Bungie's former lead designer, who unfortunately just left Bungie recently to explore new options, he said, "Working at Bungie at all is the job of a lifetime. Sandbox design even more so, let alone owning Destiny weapons for 5 years and ending up as sandbox craft lead at a studio with a legendary grasp of core gameplay." Some of my favorite exotics are the Osteostriga, which shoots poisonous tracking bullets, the Icebreaker, which generates its own ammo and makes big explosions, and the Graviton Lance, which has a unique burst and blows shit up. Just listen to this. That brings me to my next point, satisfying visual and audio design. In my opinion, the destruction you cause is only fun when it's visually and audibly satisfying. If I were to throw a grenade at a big group of enemies and they simply disappeared, my brain wouldn't get excited at all. So instead, it does this. If enemies are killed with abilities of any element, they explode with different effects. Each enemy race makes different sounds on death. This all adds to the power fantasy as you eradicate everything in view. In the article Game Dev Diaries: The Hidden World of Audio, Deanna Rupert says, in Destiny 2, you might be playing around with new loadouts only to be intrigued by a weapon sound effect when it's fired. Or perhaps you were enthralled by the ambience of Season of the Haunted, with that edge of horror that takes you the parent journey to darker, more subtle depths. There's a lot that goes into these sounds, including a design precision that can take something from the real world and transform it into a magical experience that guides players into a multi-level sensory adventure. These aspects are all key to design, but behind the feel of the game. Although not the same as audio design, I can't not talk about the music in the game. Done primarily by Michael Salvatore, who was one of the original composers behind Halo, he has consistently released banger after banger in the soundtrack over 10 years. Unfortunately, recently, he was hit by one of the layoffs at Bungie and no longer works on the game. Before I talk about enemies, I just want you to watch this video.
You have served your purpose. All that awaits you now is the gift of death, the darkness beyond your final days.
That was Rolk, one of the final raid bosses and big bads of the world. He's the last survivor of his race, because he killed them all. He just oozes with evil and aura, which is to say the game has good enemy design. The power fantasy wouldn't be the same if you were killing regular soldier bad guys, since we are so powerful. Instead, there are 7 unique enemy races: the Fallen, the Hive, the Vex, the Cabal, the Taken, the Scorn, and the Dread, with each race having unique enemy types within them. The enemy factions and different types all come with their own unique abilities and guns as well. For example, the Scorn Chieftains can summon 3 unique totems depending on their element, which can do damage over time, slow you, or even make themselves invulnerable. Another big thing Destiny does to make you feel strong is the enemy density. For you, I made a diagram. Look at it. If this were COD, you'd have guys here and here, maybe over here. Not very interesting. Versus this is what Destiny does. You see the difference? Destiny absolutely stuffs room to the brim with enemies. Because of how powerful you are, you still shouldn't have any issues, but allows you as a player to do more of the fun stuff. Obviously, I've ranted enough about it to show that. But the game is not without faults, and I unfortunately think most of that is the issue of the higher-ups at Bungie. Like I said before, there have been many massive layoffs at Bungie in the past 3 years, laying off key designers and artists just so bigwigs can keep up profits. Because of less staff like QR testers, the game is buggier than ever and slower to fix these problems. Some bugs have been interesting and cool, like recently where they accidentally made the class unique weapons available on all classes, which was left in the game with the Destiny 2 community team saying, after some discussions between team members, we've arrived at a new decision. We're going to let this ride, a fun example of a bug becoming a feature. Most bugs in the game have been extremely detrimental, however, to the player base. I love the game, and I want to see it continue to thrive.